Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Joey Galvez, one half of your host of Explain Yourself, and I want to let you guys know about a really cool book from our friend of the show, Eli Shockey. This one is called The Greylock, and it's a story where magic is a commodity. Potions are sold at corner stores. Orcs and dwarves earn a living in cubicles, not on the battlefields. But there are those who resist the house's magic's laws. Branded a criminal and forced to live as a want for hire, there is a spell slinger they call the Greylock. Check this one out. You guys can pre-order issue 3 right now with code JAN241939, and make sure you guys are heading over to your favorite LCS and letting them know that you want Greylock number 3, and maybe pick up the first 2 issues. You could do that at the Scout web store. So make sure you guys are grabbing the Greylock number 3, JAN241939 at previewsworld.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame, Joel, Tommy, and Carta.
That's a long name.
Not that long.
It's not your longest, though.
I've seen longer. Yeah, it is my longest.
I know, it's probably... I don't think it is. I think it's one of your shorter names, actually.
Yeah, I think I've gone with the 6 or 7 at one point.
Yeah. So how you doing there, Sesame?
I'm doing okay. I think I got a little bit of a fungal infection that, kind of slur my words and, kind of spaced out and can't really... kind of losing my motor skills a little bit, kind of concerned a little bit. So we'll see if I get through this podcast.
Is it COVID?
No, it's a fungus. It's I'm pretty sure there's some spores and
So you're telling me that you're a fun guy?
Yeah, I'm a fun guy. Yes.
Oh, good times.
I am.
No. So, today on the show, we will be discussing the first 6 episodes, not in detail, but an overview of our reaction to the first 6 episodes of the HBO television show The Last of Us, based on the 2013 Naughty Dog video game of the same name. Yes.
Sorry. Just the name of the company being Naughty Dog is just like, what?
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Kind of a weird name for a company, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently up with this game, which is being hailed as one of the greatest video games of all time, so,
Yeah, it's, I guess, no different than most video game company names when you first hear them.
Yeah, like Activision, well, of course, that's old school. Like
Atari, Nintendo.
Right.
Wait, Sega. Okay, no, those all sound normal to me though. But
well, yeah, but we're so used to hearing those words.
Yeah,
Nintendo actually means like go, or like, I think it means like striving towards like a goal, basically. Like you're kind
is
of.
it?
I think Nintendo pretty much means like you're. Like to do something like with like a valiant effort, I think that's what it means. Because Nintendo, sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent, but Nintendo used to be pretty much just like sold like card games and stuff like that, 1800s, and then it went through like a million different transformations until we got what we have now. So, but yeah, Naughty Dog just seems kind of interesting to me. But
Yeah, it's commonly assumed to mean leave luck to heaven.
oh, that's right. Yeah, luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
So not my definition at all.
it was close enough.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it works.
Uh-huh.
Well, Atari means to hit the target.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
I can see that because it got a tar.
Yeah, it's from the board game Go.
Oh, okay. Go. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember playing this. Okay. Neat.
Yep.
Neat.
And Naughty Dog in its native language means a canine who is not well behaved.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so that's kind of self-explanatory, but yeah,
In
I
its
mean,
in its native language of English.
right, yeah.
When I
So
translate it into English, that's what it comes back as.
okay,
Yeah.
so it's not the thing where you translate it translate to Japanese and then from Japanese back to English, like in news radio.
Yes, and you get Jimmy James. If, instead of capitalist lion tamer, it's what was it?
Oh, I remember it was something weird.
It was
You're looking it up.
yes. I know that the name of the episode is Super Karate.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Super Karate Monkey Death Car.
that's right. That's a good episode.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Macho. Oh, what was it? I'm trying to remember it now. Okay, now that's gonna bother me, but I'll figure it out before the end of the episode, and I'll get it to you guys. So, anyways, before we get into this, just want to ask you folks to do me a favor, share our episodes, any episode you like. You know, I don't care which one it is. It could be our episode about the television series Blit Happens. I don't really care what it is.
I forgot about that one.
It could be any episode you like.
Oh my God, Blit Happens. Yeah.
Share the episode and tag us. And you may win a prize.
Maybe.
Yes. I have a couple things in the works, but please share us on Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, or one of their social media places.
The Tox.
Yeah, and tag all too real 2. And yeah, we'll enter you into a contest, and we'll pick somebody at random to win.
Just don't be
to win a prize.
antagonistic to us. Ooh,
Yeah.
you see what I did there?
Oh yeah, and tag next. But anyways, yeah, just do that for us, and also give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you can. Yeah, and share it with your friends. Like I said, that's the best way to get us out there. You know, and check out our Patreon and our TeePublic. And I do promise somebody will get a prize at some point. So
Now, we don't know what that prize is. Maybe it's dinner with me and or Mike, just like how Trump promised with his NFT sales.
yes,
You know, I'm not amazing prize, but it's what we got.
or maybe you get an NFT of Matt dressed up like an astronaut or something.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
my great arts, very, pertain to my life and career. It's very exciting.
Yes, that time you were an astronaut back in,
Yeah.
2010. Remember that?
Sure. I was only like in my early 20s then, but yes,
Yeah,
I was one of the youngest astronauts ever.
when you landed on Mars, and
Never left.
yeah, and inhabited it. That's why there's a whole population of people up there.
Uh-huh.
That's why you have to keep changing your name,
Yeah.
because you need to create all these new names for all the other people that are up there.
That is true.
That makes absolutely no sense, but let's go with it.
My spirit has been incarnated into different bodies, and I'm able to possess them at will.
Uh-huh.
So I'm actually right now on Mars simultaneously.
And you have a Martian spouse as well.
Yes, yes, definitely. Very hot Martian spouse, mind you.
Yes.
So,
That's because, it's the temperature on the planet.
Oh, yeah, scorching hot. Yes, yeah. we pretty much burned to death there. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
But somehow the Wi-Fi reception is really good there.
Oh, it's great.
Yes.
It's great stuff. Yeah.
And we're able to broadcast this podcast. But
anyways, they don't want Mars bars for nothing. It's got great bars for their internet there. Ooh, good one.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah, sorry.
Sesame, what was your initial reaction to the Last of Us in the first 6 episodes that we've seen here?
Well, I would compare it to sesame seed bun on top of a Whopper or Big Mac hamburger, which I love. Okay. Therefore, that means I love the first 6 episodes of the show.
Which do you love more?
The show.
Okay.
Definitely a show.
Yeah. Because I think the show is definitely better than Burger King.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
No, Burger King took a nosedive like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it did.
Used to be great stuff, but yeah.
They took a nosedive when they stopped selling the chicken tender sandwiches
in
the local Burger Kings, because I lived on those when I was in college. So
I know.
They were like $1 and they were amazing.
I know.
It was that and ramen. Yes, and cereal. And that's why I'm so healthy. Anyways, speaking of healthy, I think the show is really healthy. No, it was really good. I liked it. I mean, I feel about this what I think other people felt about Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, because I never had this feeling with those shows.
Uh-huh.
I never watched much of them either, so. But, comparing two things, because the 2 stars of the show were both on Game of Thrones, and we got this post-apocalyptic outbreak thing going on that's similar to Walking Dead. But done a lot better, in my opinion. Because you care more about the people. It's because you've got lesser people and you care more about them. Except for you do have the aspect where you start to care about somebody in an episode and then they die. But
yeah, The Walking Dead. I mean, pretty much just became a cash grab at one point. At some point, it lasted way too long.
Oh yeah, it probably should have ended a few seasons in.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And I never understood Game of Thrones, but maybe someday I'll watch it.
Yeah, me too. I've never seen it yet either. I've always...
Yeah.
So I want to watch House of the Dragon, but it's a prequel, so I want to watch Game of Thrones first.
Yeah.
So it's not ruined for me, basically.
Yeah, in case there's any kind of, spoilers. So yeah, but I loved this. I'm just anxious for the next episode. That's how I feel, I binged 3 episodes in a day, the last 3, because I fell behind and wasn't able to catch up right away. And then I watched episodes 4, 5, and 6 all in the same day. And I was just I need more, I'm a junkie. But yeah, anyways, that's how I felt. So, like we said, background on this, it's based on the video game. We have our main cast includes Pedro Pascal, and he's been tasked to take care of a young person and take them places, much like in The Mandalorian.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
But yeah, no. But I love Pedro Pascal in anything he's in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, even in Wonder Woman 2, So yeah, have you seen that yet?
No, he's in that. Cool.
Yeah, it's a decent movie. We should probably cover it in the future, but it has got a lot of flaws.
Is that 84? Is that what the
Yeah,
one?
Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah, yeah, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still good.
Okay.
Yeah, but then we got our second lead. We only got like 2 leads in the show.
Yeah.
Is Bella Ramsey as 14-year-old girl named Ellie. And I will tell you, this girl can act.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And she's British in real life. So it's just amazing to me when British people can do American accents so well.
Oh, I know. Speaking of The Walking Dead, I mean, like half the cast is British, or
Oh,
the
yeah.
main cast. But they have like American accents. Like
Yeah.
Rick, the guy who plays Rick Grimes, Morgan. They're
Yeah.
both British.
Yeah, it's kind of like on like House. Like what's his face who starred on that? He's British.
Oh, that dude.
Yeah, and he got cast after his audition, and he sent in a tape, and somebody says that's what we need for this role, a real down-to-earth American guy. And he wasn't. Yeah. No, but it just seems like I mean, it might just be because we're American and we don't notice. I don't know. I mean, because notice it as much, but it's like hard to tell that they're British a lot of times when British people are doing American accents. But I think
Yeah.
a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're trained better over there in acting, and
Yeah, probably because
yeah,
the arts are a little bit more part of the culture there.
because I mean there are some Americans that can do good British accents, but it doesn't seem like there's an even trade-off here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But so that's our main cast, but we've got a lot of, guest stars in every episode, so it's pretty good. So what goes down here in these episodes that you want to talk about here?
The beginning is a good start because, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. The beginning's a good start.
I like to
So-
start around the middle. I'm joking. No,
Yeah. So basically, what we have is it starts off, there's a lot of time jumps in this show. So it starts off in 1968, and there's like a TV show. This guy's interviewing to like 2 different virologists. Can't say that word. And the one guy is basically talking about like pandemics, and then he asked the other guy, he's like, "Are you afraid of like a global pandemic like destroying the human race?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "What do you mean, no?" He's like, "Humanity has fought off plagues from the very beginning. I mean, yeah, it might kill off millions of people, but we always find a way to bounce back." And then he's like, "Okay, so what are you afraid of?" And then he mentions fungus, and he talks about how there are certain types of fungus that can like literally hijack like ants' brains and cause them to just bend to its will, essentially do whatever it wants to do, and that it pretty much just over time takes over its body in order for the fungus to grow like on top of the body. And then of course they have a little thing about climate change there. We're like, well, fungus can't grow beyond like 93 degrees or whatever. And he's
Yeah.
like, true. It's like, but what if the earth got slightly warmer over time, and so that would give the fungus an evolutionary reason to be able to grow in warmer temperatures and this whole thing. So and then we kind of we sort of basically he just like scares the shit out of the audience and the presenter, like the interviewer, like everybody's just like on silent.
The interviewer, interestingly, is played by Josh Brenner, who I really love as an actor. He starred as Big Head on Silicon Valley, and also he was Marin's assistant on the TV show Marin.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and was in an interesting movie that I saw not that long ago that oh my gosh, what was the name of that movie? It was really good. I'm not remembering things today, folks, so I'm sorry about that. But it was.
Deep, 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 deep.
I don't know. I'll look it up. But yeah, he's a really good actor. He's a really good young comedian. I think he's got a future ahead of him. So keep an eye out for him.
So long as he doesn't get infected by fungus. So.
Oh yeah.
So then, time jump to 2003. We're introduced to our three main characters so far: Joel, his daughter Sarah, who's around the same age as Ellie, which is in the future, and then we got his younger brother Tommy. They're both contractors. It's Joel's birthday, his 36th birthday. While they're eating breakfast, you start hearing stuff on the radio talking about reports of people acting weird in Indonesia, like getting violent with each other. And they go to work. They're gonna work a double shift because one of the people decided they couldn't do it or whatever. And then he promised that he'd bring back a cake back home for his birthday. And then so she goes up to school. Things are there's people coughing. People are acting a little bit weird. Like one of their classmates, his hands like trembling because she's seeing like the reflection of his watch from the light or whatever. And then after school, she goes to get her dad's watch fixed that he never wanted to fix because he didn't want to spend the money on himself or whatever.
Yeah.
So she took some of his money to get his watch fixed. So I'm not really sure how that's a birthday gift, but hey, whatever. And then
it is.
It is.
By the way, that movie, before I forget, Baked in Brooklyn is the name of the movie with him. It's a really good movie about a pot dealer and his relationship with his girlfriend.
Baked, you get it baked.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I liked it. So anyways, cool. Check it out, folks.
Yeah, do it. Check it. So she goes, this watch shop. You're seeing a lot of police cars are driving by, a lot of ambulances. There's obviously something going on in the city. As she's getting the watch fixed, the guy's wife, who also works there, says we're closing early because she knows that there's something going on, and then pretty much, sends her off on her way. She goes to her next door neighbor who wants her to bake cookies with her. She does. She doesn't eat any of them, interesting enough, which that does play an important role later on. Because at the beginning, or near the beginning, they're all offered cookies and other things, and they rejected. They're like, no, thank you. We're busy.
And she didn't want them because they were raisin cookies.
Right. But it is important.
It's important. But
it is very important.
It's good she didn't like raisin cookies.
I mean, I don't like them either, but it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then the woman's mother, who's, very elderly, is also there. And while Sarah is kind of picking out like a DVD to ask if she can borrow, the old woman's like moving around like all crazy, like, but she's supposed to be paralyzed. So she's like moving around and stuff. And then she doesn't notice it, but the dog does. Dog is looking like, what the fuck's going on, type of thing. And dog's name is Mercy, by the way. And she goes home, and she's asking him like, has anything been strange today on the news or whatever? She's like, oh, it's no big deal. So she goes home. Everything seems to be, normal, at least somewhat. You hear a little bit of like helicopters flying by, and Joel comes back late. He forgot the cake, of course, because he worked all day, and she pops in the DVD that she borrowed, and he promised, he asked her not to fall asleep, but she falls asleep anyway on his lap. And then Tommy calls him from jail, asking him to pick him up because it's Friday. So if he doesn't pick him up, he's going to be stuck there all weekend. And Joel thinks it's because he was, being a hothead or whatever, but it was because he was at a bar and there was a bunch of people like getting violent and they were trying to mess with the waitress and stuff. So he stopped the guy, but then the cops came and they arrested him as well. So he goes off to pick up Tommy, and he carries Sarah and puts her in bed. And then Sarah wakes up around like 2 a.m, and there's just like helicopters all over the place and just all kinds of noise. So she goes outside, or she sees the dog Mercy coming to her house, scratching on the door, and she tries to take him back home, but he doesn't want to go back home. And then the door's open, which I don't think walking into a house with a door open at 2 a.m. is necessarily a good idea. But hey, whatever. And the old lady is turned into some infected person. That's the other thing too about the show. The zombies, quote unquote zombies, are like super fast. Like they're not like The Walking Dead, where like they're like they jump around and do all kinds of crazy shit. So
jump up, but get down. Jump.
Yeah, jump up. Hey, jump. No, sorry. Good song. Good song. So, Joel and Tommy show up just in the nick of time, and they kill the old lady, and they driving off, and they're running into people and shit like that, because the whole city's just become bedlam at this point. I mean, there's fires everywhere. Everybody's trying to flee the city at the exact same time, using the exact same road. By the way, this is Austin, Texas, I believe, and and they're just trying to take all these shortcuts. Eventually, they're in like the crowded area of the street. People are just literally just running all over the street trying to find shelter. And a jet, like a airline jet, like crashes down and just like explodes, like causing all this kind of debris and shit to fly over. They get knocked out from the debris. Sarah twisted her ankle, I think, or something, and they're trying to carry her to get her to safety. They get confronted by a soldier who is told to kill them because they don't want to take any chances on whether or not they're infected by this new thing that they're not really sure even what it is at this point.
Yeah.
Soldier accidentally kills Sarah. Well, didn't accidentally. I mean, he tried to kill them both, but Joel tried to turn her around, but ended up shooting her in the abdomen. So unfortunately, she dies, which kind of really upset me because I was thinking she was going to be a main character in this whole show, and then she was only in the first episode.
Well, that's the whole like Janet Leigh sort of thing, where you get attached to a character and then you kill them off.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in the game too. She dies in the first night of this whole pandemic or whatever you'd call it. And then we go into another time jump to 20 years later, 2023, and people are pretty much living in these terrible like slums called Fedra, which stands for federal something, I don't remember what. And then
they're like these quarantine type zones.
Yeah, they're quarantine zones, and they have very strict protocols. Like there's this little kid who shows up and he's been infected, and this lady basically,
lies to him.
Tells them that, they're he's gonna be able to play with all the toys he wants and eat his favorite meal and stuff, and then they just give him a little shot to euthanize him basically. And she looked like she was very sad about this, that she didn't seem like she was like doing it because it was like, oh, I'm just doing this because my job or whatever. But then they burned the bodies. And it's just very, very miserable existence of people who live in these quarantine zones. They have to work for points essentially as money, and they got to work different jobs per day. So there's really no like set like career. It's just whatever happens to be available that particular day, And then and we find out that Joel is a smuggler. So that's how he kind of makes money on the side. He deals drugs with one of the soldiers, bunch of Oxycontin or Vicodin or whatever. And then we find out that his girlfriend / partner is kind of also his partner in crime. Well, literally partner in crime.
Yeah, named Tess.
Yeah, named Tess.
Played by Anna Torv, who people might know from Mindhunter and Fringe.
Right, Fringe, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was so weird too because I started watching Fringe before I started watching The Last of Us.
Oh yeah.
And I had
Me too. Randomly I had started watching it again. On and off
it's
recently.
A great show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Fringe is a great show. So just again to keep you up to speed, so basically they're trying to get some battery for a truck because Joel wants to get to his brother Tommy, and they have like this little thing where they send out like radio signals to each other. You can sing like different songs to kind of tell them like what's going on. And Tommy hasn't responded in 3 weeks, so he's worried that something happened to him. So then at this point, there's like a group of freedom fighters called the Fireflies, not the TV show, called the Fireflies, who are basically called terrorists by you know, the Fedra or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have this girl chained up there, and the reason why we learned is because she got bit by one of the infected 3 weeks ago, and she's still alive and fine. Whereas it usually kills you within, well, not kills you, it usually takes over within like a day or two, depending on where you're bit. And she was bit in the upper, which is one of the places where it spreads fast, And so the leader of the Fireflies, her name is Marlene. She knows Joel and Tess through Tommy, who Tommy was part of that group for a while. And they want them to take Ellie to some lab where they could basically like extract a cure from her. And then, so that's like the main, like, that's what we got, like the main story is.
Yeah, and Marlene, by the way, is played by Merle Dandridge, who also played the role of Marlene in the video game. She's like she's like one of the only people to reprise their role. Some people from the video game are appearing in future episodes, but playing different characters. But yeah,
okay,
yeah, like
that's
like
cool.
the guy who played Joel in the series is supposed to show up. Troy Baker, he's playing a character named James in a future episode, and it's all over the place, so I'm not really spoiling too much, but Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in the game, is playing Ellie's mother in the TV show. So
okay,
yeah, so yeah,
that's cool.
And Ashley Johnson, by the way, if you don't know, played Chrissy Seaver on Growing Pains with one of our favorite actors, Mr. Kirk Cameron.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's, I think, in the past spoken out against him and stuff too. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
she's a lesbian in real life, and yeah.
Well, yeah,
and
yeah.
Kirk doesn't like that, I don't think. So yeah,
probably not. No.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
So yeah, that's what happened in the first episode, and then we have like 5 more episodes that different things happen in that we are, we can talk about. Like episode 3 is really good. Like the second episode, we lose Tess.
Yeah, I know. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, just when we're getting to like her.
Mm-hmm.
We learned in that episode that the infection started in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically they had to blow up the whole town to try to stop it.
I know.
Which they seem to do like throughout the world in different places, different big cities where this was happening.
Yeah.
So Joel and Tess are still trying to get to like transport Ellie, and they get out. They get trying to originally get them to some allies that they know in Lincoln, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston, where they're coming from. And while in Boston, though, Tess gets infected and sacrifices herself to blow up a bunch of other infected inside of a museum. So
yeah, we got different types of infected. We got clickers, which they don't have eyes anymore, but they got really good auditory senses. And they're really fast too. And later on, we see an episode called Bloater, which, it sounds exactly how it sounds,
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the best part of this episode was before Tess sacrificed herself, because she, dumped out a bunch of gas or oil on the floor and then was going to set it on fire to blow up this building. And she has a Zippo lighter, and it was pretty intense because she couldn't get the lighter to light, which was really intense scene. That was my favorite part of that episode.
I know, me too. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. Because if she didn't, then, she'd become a infected person totally, and then, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But then episode 3 was a tour de force episode, one of the best episodes of television in the past year, at least. So, yeah. Yeah, and what happens in that episode?
We're introduced to characters called Bill and Frank. That's who they were trying to go to in episode 2 because they got supplies and they have like an alliance with each other. They work with each other for different things. Bill is a survivalist. He's one of these libertarian people. He's got the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. In his house, and he had the whole thing thought out. He had like a basement within a basement that had all these cameras and TV screens and things like that of that nature. And the Fedra people were just clearing out like the entire neighborhood, but they thought he was gone because they couldn't find anyone there. So after they left, he pretty much had the whole town to himself. And then so he went to all these stores, got more equipment for survivalists, things like that. He lives like that for about 4 years, and then he meets this guy named Frank, who was part of another group who all died, and he was the only remaining member. He fell into one of Bill's traps, which is basically a hole that was dug where he put the infected that he caught that killed him. And Frank asked him if he could stay for dinner because he's really hungry and stuff. So Bill, reluctantly allows him, to do that. Bill apparently is like a really good cook, and somehow he's able to get meat for every single dinner. So I don't know how he's doing this, but like,
well, he has like pet, not pet, but like he has rabbits and chickens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's been making food with those. Yeah,
he's pretty much living large for compared to everyone else. And then Frank is gay, and he kind of can tell that Bill's gay too. And then Bill's kind of not trying to deny it, or he's not really. He's very cautious or reserved or whatever. But then Frank plays some song on the piano, and then they kiss and stuff. This, of course, freaked out the right wing. They had a whole thing about it. This is so terrible and immoral, and it's teaching people wrong things. Blah blah blah, whatever. And then
Ben Shapiro had a field day with that episode.
Well, of course, right? Benny boy, yeah, whatever. And then we kind of jump, some years, into that. They're now a couple. They're living together. Bill still wants to be kind of like a survivalist. He's very reserved. He doesn't really want anyone else to come around. Whereas Frank is like, no, like we need to like start like building communities. We need to start like having relationships with other people so we can like basically like rebuild society essentially.
Yeah.
And he kind of, Bill sort of comes around a little bit to that. So that's where they meet Joel and Tess, and they start like a trading relationship, and all because of Frank, really. And then and Frank was actually the one that came up with the idea of using music to send encoded messages to each other. Like 80s music. 80s music meant there was like trouble, like don't come. 70s music meant like everything's fine. And so so Frank, it was just a beautiful episode because eventually Frank, even though Frank was like the healthier one of the group, he ends up getting MS or something like that. And he can't.
Yeah, they never really reveal what it is that he has. It's like
it was some
kind of terminal illness. And I think it's better that they didn't spell out like, oh, this is what he has. Yeah.
Right. So basically Frank has decided that, he's done. He wants to kill himself essentially. And so he convinces Bill to crush up a bunch of like pills into like his wine, and like basically just like telling him like how the whole day is gonna go. It's just like very, very beautiful but heart-wrenching at the same time, because he's saying we're gonna go to the store and we're gonna get married today. We're gonna get a suit. And he's like, no. He's like, you'll wear what I ask you to wear. And then then we're gonna eat dinner, and then you're gonna slip those pills into my wine, and then you're gonna take me to bed, and I'm gonna sleep in your arms and die tonight. And then Bill decides that he wants to go out too. So then he puts the pills into his wine too, and they go upstairs essentially to die together. And then they lock the door, and then Bill leaves a note to Joel telling him that not to go in the room because it's probably gonna smell really bad or just look really bad.
They left a window open though.
Yeah, they let the window open, but not and that
To air it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that he can pretty much take whatever he wants, the guns and the cars and whatnot. And of course, I'm skipping way speeding over.
It's
but
and I think the most beautiful shot in the show though is like towards the end when it's about to end and they cut to the window in the bedroom.
Oh yeah,
and it's open and the like curtains are kind of blowing a little bit, and that's just like cinematography, like really cool for that or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And the third and fourth episodes didn't seem like a lot was going on.
The fourth and fifth, you mean? Yeah.
I mean, sorry, the fourth and fifth. Well, the fourth episode didn't really seem like there was a lot going on. They basically run into a town that had just been liberated from Fedra, and it's like basically being run by this woman who's kind of like the dictator essentially of this new, like, quote unquote free Kansas City, which is being ruled by one dictator. But okay, no matter. It's like that's free. But
Kathleen is her name, played by Melanie Linsky, who is one of the greatest actors living.
Oh, I know I love her so much. I've seen her in the bunch of stuff. And yeah, so they're trying to, some people are trying to ambush them by pretending that they are hurt, they need help. But Joel knows about this because he's seen this tactic a million times, so he knows what's going on. We find out that the Kathleen is looking for this guy named Henry, who apparently did something really bad, and she's trying to get informants who used to work for Fedra to basically become informants for her and to find this Henry dude. She ends up killing her own doctor that actually delivered her when she was a baby because I guess he was a traitor or whatever. And we find out that she's bloodthirsty. She's out for revenge, and she wants pretty much anyone who collaborated with Fedra to die. And I mean, and indeed, they were like hanging people in the street, like who worked for Fedra, like it was a crazy sight to see. Like you're literally just killing them,
yeah.
And then they have like show trials, where they're like executing people for violations of this or that. That's pretty much all that happens in episode 3. I mean, there's lots of stuff, but it's really the basic story.
Episode 4, yeah.
Episode 5, we get a little bit more into the backstory of why Kathleen is the way she is. Turns out that Henry was an informant for Fedra, and the reason why is because his younger brother had leukemia and needed medicine, but Fedra wouldn't give medicine unless they became informants for people who are fireflies or other kind of freedom fighters. So, and in order to do that, he ratted out Kathleen's brother, who was the leader of the revolution, and Fedra killed him. So that's why she's after Henry's blood for that. And even though Henry had said the people should forgive them because he knew what was at stake and that people really weren't being informants just because they were bad people or wanted to or whatever, but because they were desperate. But she's not going to forgive them, even though her brother told them to, which is weird. And it's like, if you want to honor your brother, wouldn't you do the thing that he's asking you to do? But okay, whatever. But again, that's human emotion for you.
No, that's not how you honor people. Wait, what? No.
So Henry and his younger brother Sam, they're kind of holed up with Joel and Ellie. They find this sort of underground community that I guess was set up during the beginning stages of the infection, because they have like a children's zone where they got like books and toys and paintings on the wall, like a rainbow color, stuff like that. And Kathleen eventually finds her way to the place because they're also looking for Joel because they knew that Joel had killed some people during this scuffle originally. So they're after both Henry and Joel. So then, just as they're about to leave, a guy ambushes them using a sniper rifle from his house. So Joel comes and kills him. He pretty much begs him not to use his rifle because he's going to be forced to kill him at that point, which the guy does. So then Joel kills him. And then Kathleen and her freedom fighters have shown up and they're trying to confront Henry. And, we get into this whole speech, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I know why you did it and blah, 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 but I still have to kill you. And then as this is happening, there's a truck that crashed into one of the houses. And the truck sinks down into the ground. And then there's a bunch of infected down there because Fedra had basically buried them a long time ago and didn't tell anyone about it. And there were rumors that the infected lived down there, but it was people mainly thought it was a scare tactic, But no, it wasn't a scare tactic because they all start crawling out, including the bloater, which I mentioned earlier. Bloater is this huge, huge dude who kills people, which I thought was weird because I thought they were only supposed to infect people, but this guy literally ripped off someone's head. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
So I mean,
anyway, you want to finish? Yeah.
The thing I was wondering about because I don't know because I never played the games or anything, but with the bloaters, were these big people before they got infected, or were they just got bigger? Were they normal sized people and then they just got big when they got infected?
I think they were just big to begin with because I don't think the infection can grow more fungus on you, but I don't think it actually could change the genetic makeup.
Yeah, that's what I was I was curious about that because I just wasn't sure if it was some dude like Joel's size all of a sudden is
no,
the size of a football player,
I think the reason why they gave for that, I don't know if it's true or not, but I read somewhere that I think it was speculation that for some reason bigger people who are more muscular and tall and stuff, it's the fungus seemed to grow on them longer, which meant that it take more time. Therefore, it became a powerhouse, basically type of fungal being.
Yeah,
but still, I'm not sure why he killed people because I thought their job was just to infect people, or maybe
they're changing it for the TV series too.
That too, or maybe he's meant to be a protector because I know that some of the infected can be killed, so maybe he's to stop the infected from being killed by the non-infected. So maybe that's why he ripped that guy's head off.
Yeah, and so in this episode though, then they do get out of this, and eventually the creatures get Kathleen and kill her.
Yeah,
and Henry, Sam, and Ellie and Joel get themselves to safety. Sam reveals, because he's become close to Ellie, that he was infected. And Sam is deaf, so he's writing on one of those little things that kids have where you write on it and you can take the page up and it goes away. I don't even know what those are called, magic doodles or something.
Yeah, I think they're
not the
almost
mega doodles, but they're something similar. But yeah, he writes on that and tells her. But so then the next morning, he asks her to stay up with him, and she ends up falling asleep. Next morning, his back is to her, and the moment that his back was to her, I was like, okay, he's turned.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, me too.
But it was still a cool scene, and basically he turned and then he started attacking people, and then Henry had to kill his brother to save Ellie.
Right.
And then he took the gun on himself and killed himself.
But before that, Ellie tried to cure him because she thought
that's right. She put blood in him. Yeah, and it didn't work.
Which unfortunately doesn't work that way, but she thought it might work.
Yeah.
So she cut herself and then put her hand on the wound.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Who knows? Maybe it worked a little bit. Maybe it staved off the infection a couple of hours, then, but still. And so that was pretty traumatizing for Ellie right there. she had just made a new friend, and then, he dies, and then her older brother kills himself
Yeah.
right in front of her. And then she writes, "I'm sorry" on the thing after she buried them.
Yeah.
And then they go into the next episode. What happens in episode 6?
It's episode 6 called Pin. First, it's like 3 months later. Then we start out in this house of this native couple, played by Graham Greene and Elaine Miles, Marlon and Florence. And just a little side note, Graham Greene guest starred on Northern Exposure as Elaine Miles, who was a star of Northern Exposure, as her cousin.
Wow.
But in this, they play a couple. So it's just interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. But Elaine Miles, I hadn't seen her in years, and she was like one of the main actors on Northern Exposure. So it's good to see her in something again, She was also in this movie Smoke Signals, that if you have not seen, like, stop whatever you're doing right now after this podcast, find it online and watch it. It's the best, like, native film, like, Native American film that's, like, made in the last, like, 50 years or something.
Wow.
But it was made in, like, the 90s. It was really good. Anyways, I had to watch it for, like, a cult film class or something. It was, like, it has a, like, cult following. But yeah, they asked this couple, they got him at gunpoint at first and everything, and then they basically are trying to find out how they can get to Tommy. They're trying to figure out, like, maybe where these fireflies might be and stuff. And they tell them about this river called, like, the Death River or something. What was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, River of Death or whatever. And they get to that, and then these people show up, and they have a dog that can sniff out if somebody's infected, and they sniff Joel, and then Joel's worried that it's gonna think that Ellie's infected. But Ellie's playing with the dog and everything's cool. They go back to this town, and Tommy's there. So, Joel gets to have a little family reunion there. We meet Tommy's new wife, Maria, who is pregnant. And from Maria, Ellie had learned about Sarah's fate and how she died and everything. So knows that Joel has lost his daughter.
Yeah.
And there's some really good acting scenes in this episode.
Oh yeah,
between
definitely.
the two of them. They're watching a movie in town at one point, and I just want to point out that the movie is Goodbye Girl. I don't know why I just
Okay, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, it was the Goodbye Girl. Yeah, so it's basically Joel is convinced that he's not strong enough to take Ellie to this university that's like it's like a couple days away or something. Isn't it like 5 days away or something?
Yeah, it's pretty close, but yeah.
Yeah. It's like a 5 days journey. And so she overhears that he wants Tommy to take her and that they can part ways because he doesn't think he's up to the task. But she's like all pissed off, and because basically everybody's abandoned her. And the only person who's like stuck by her has been Joel.
Right.
And, they've got this sort of father-daughter relationship here.
Yeah.
Anyways, Joel changes his mind and takes her after they fight. And they find the university, but the Fireflies have actually vacated their base. Possibly relocating to a hospital in Utah, I guess, or something. So
Right.
Joel
Damn it.
And Ellie, there's these raiders in the town that attack them, and they attempt to escape the group of raiders. One of them ends up attacking Joel. Joel kills him, but he is like stabbed with this like big piece of wood or something
Yeah.
in the struggle. And so they escape, and but they're riding on the horse out of town, and Joel basically falls to what appears to be his death, and leaving Ellie unsure how to proceed, what the situation is, and doesn't know what's going
Right.
on, and so we don't know if he's alive or dead. I have a feeling he's alive.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean,
I hope so. I hope they didn't
I-
change things too much and just kill off one of the main stars in the 6th episode, but you never know with TV nowadays. So
I mean, the game, I know he is around, so
he's in the 2nd game, at least for
So-
part of it. So yeah.
at least, I mean, unless they decide to change it, but that would
Yeah.
just be. I would hope they wouldn't do that. I don't think they're gonna.
No, I hope not too, because I like Pedro. So but yeah, that's where we're left off here, and we're gonna cover this in a second part on cover episodes 7, 8, and 9 after they air. We'll be back with our second episode sometime in March to talk about those. But where would you like to see? What would you like to see happen in like the next episode? I mean, I've not played the game, so I have no way to know what's gonna happen.
I don't-
So
Yeah, I haven't played the game either, but well, the next episode's supposed to be like a backstory Ellie, so it's gonna be like stuff that happened in the past.
okay,
So, and it has something to do with Riley, which I guess is one of her friends, because
yeah,
at one point Marlene had told her, because Ellie said, oh, I'm being surrounded by a bunch of terrorists or whatever. And he's like, seriously, terrorists? Like, was Riley a terrorist? So like Riley was, I guess, one of the children
okay,
who were part of this group, or at least maybe the child of one of the parents, that were part of
Yeah.
the Firefly. So yeah, it's all going to be just like a backstory for Ellie for the next episode. I don't think anything new is going to happen unless they like interpose like between like the backstory and what's going on currently or whatever. I would hope that they're gonna go into the 9th episode. It's probably gonna leave on the cliffhanger, I imagine, and I think I know what that cliffhanger is gonna be because I did a little research. I don't know if you want to hear about it from the game, the story of the game, or if you want to.
yeah,
be
we
surprised.
can hear about this. Just if you guys don't want to be spoiled, I mean, we probably should have said this at the beginning of the episode, but if you don't
Well,
want to be spoiled by something that hasn't happened yet, maybe turn off now. Yeah.
So in the game, I could be wrong, but in the game, I think what happens is they finally find the lab and they're going to take her there. But I'm thinking that they were going to kill her because I think that's the only way they could get the cure somehow. So I think Joel basically decides, like, fuck that. Like, I don't care if this will save humanity. Like, you're not killing Ellie. So he pretty much just, like, kills all the people in the lab and just takes
Oh.
her. I don't know, but I'm thinking
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. Don't quote me on it because I didn't want to read too much. Because I did want a little bit of element of surprise,
Yeah.
but basically it said something like someone said like Joel makes a very important decision, like where pretty much it said something along the lines of like might go against the greater good. So I'm thinking, well, the greater good would be let her die and therefore cure the rest of humanity. Where he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna save this one individual, everyone else can fuck off, type
Yeah.
of thing. Like, so we'll see.
Yeah, the next 3 episodes we have, the titles of the episodes, if it isn't any indication of what might happen, I mean, it might not be it just because titles don't always give us clues, but the next episode is called Left Behind. Like the Kirk Cameron series of movies.
Kirk, for a second I was thinking Kurt Cobain. I was like, wait, what?
No, Kirk Cameron. I was just like, yeah, the series of movies he had called Left Behind.
And also, which cannot hold a candle to Saving Christmas.
No.
No. So,
But then we have episode 8, which is called When We Are in Need. And then the last episode of the season is called Look for the Light. So who knows where things are going to go. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting because I do know that this has totally become this father-daughter relationship between Ellie and Joel. So it's like she's basically kind of the replacement for Sarah, kind of in his feelings in a lot of ways, I think, you know. So
Well, yeah, in his mind,
yeah.
And that's the reason why
he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to lose another kid that he cares about, basically. You know,
right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because he spent the last 20 years of just pretty much being fearless, but now that he has someone that he feels like he has to take care of, he's like having panic attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I mean, he had a relationship with Tess, but Tess was able to take care of herself until she wasn't. But you know, still, yeah.
And the opposite though with Ellie is that she feels safe with him.
Yeah.
So he's like, for her, he's like, you know, like the protector, but like with him and her, he's like, I can't fuck this up. If I fuck this up, I'll never forgive myself. Like, you know, like, and
yeah.
Because at one point he even tells Tommy that he's constantly failing Sarah basically throughout his whole life because he couldn't save her.
Yeah.
So everything he's done since then, he's been constantly failing her.
And I like how they've actually been showing him having little panic attacks here and there.
Yeah.
Which is something you don't really see often portrayed as like realistically on television as this is, where it's not like something that's completely obvious. It's something internal and not completely external, because people have small panic attacks inside all the time.
Yeah.
That are able to do that. I know I have. So yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because at first it looked like he was having a heart attack because a lot of panic attacks can mimic heart somewhat. So like he was leaning up against the fence, and so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, he's very protective of Ellie at this point. Even at one point though, during this episode 6, when they're pretty much like a full-fledged town, like they just live like normal people.
Yeah, this Jackson, Wyoming is where they're held up. Yeah.
And at one point he sees a woman that looks kind of like Sarah would have looked if she was older.
Yeah.
And then like another girl that like would look kind of like her daughter.
Yeah.
So like some ways it was almost like he was like imagining how that would have looked like had she lived, that she would have like had her by now or something like that.
If he would have had grandkids and stuff.
It's
interesting because like he's playing, Pedro Pascal's playing somebody in their 50s, but he's only in his 40s, so it's interesting.
Yeah, he's 56. Yeah, he was 36 years old in 2003. So yeah, now he's 56.
Yeah, so Pedro's playing older. I mean, they made him look older, which is good. I mean, because he did have to play, 30s and then 50 and then 60s or 50s. Yeah, so yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. So yeah, hopefully things end on a decent note. I mean, not like, I know they're probably not going to end on a happy note.
No, probably not.
This isn't like, there's going to be, sunshine and rainbows all of a sudden. Yeah.
No. And they're probably most definitely going to have a second season. So
it's already been renewed. So
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they will. It's interesting that there have been some, we've talked about the criticism that, idiots had about the 3rd episode, but there has been some criticism here about the fact that like it films in Alberta, Canada, and there's like this wooded area that's supposed to be right outside of Boston, and it looks nothing like what any kind of wooded area outside of Boston would look like, even 20 or 30 years after a outbreak. So it's like,
yeah.
And then you've got the latest episode. There's some crew visible in one of these shots.
Oh, really?
So hopefully they fixed that. I don't know if they're going to, but
wow.
So that's the only things I've seen, like, major, but yeah. Oh, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe within the time period that happened, there was some like mountainous woods that grew up around Boston.
A mountain, yeah. I mean, it takes 20 years to grow a mountain.
Well,
I've heard.
Well, if you talk to it like you do a plant,
Yeah,
and
the
you
plant,
water
you
it,
talk
and
mountain daily.
yeah,
It will grow that fast. It's a scientific fact. So.
I'm gonna start that tomorrow.
Yeah, start. I mean, they probably have mountains in Boston. I don't know.
I mean,
where
they probably
mountains-
do in Massachusetts, but it's like,
Yeah.
Nothing really looks like that area that they.
I know.
Yeah.
I could tell from. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not Boston or any kind of place around that area.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked beautiful. It looked nice, but
Yeah. Not East Coast of the United States. Nice.
no.
No. Anyways, so any other thoughts here before we wrap things up?
No, I think I'm spent.
Me too. Well, folks, make sure you watch the next 3 episodes and join us for the second part when we have that in a few weeks here. Also, be sure to check out all of our other episodes that we have if you are just joining us for the first time in this episode. Promise you, a lot of them are about more fun types of stuff than post-apocalyptic TV shows. Not that this isn't fun, but yeah, just do that and make sure that you check us out on all2real2.com. There you can find all of our links. Share the show. Like I said, we will be having some kind of prize in the near future for people that do, and tag us and hashtag it at all2real2. Just hashtag it on social media, folks. Get our name out there. But be good to each other. Make sure you recycle. And, climate change is real, and it might lead to something like this.
Yeah, just be careful.
I mean, this week it was snowing in Los Angeles and like 70 in Ohio. So it's like, I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on in the world. But, welcome to the future.
We had freezing rain last night, ice on all the trees, and then it was 60 degrees today.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how it goes. And, yep. Be good to each other. And until next time, folks, remember that I love you, and Sesame loves you, and bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.